Hello and welcome to the Rising Generation Leadership Podcast with me, Errol Lawson. This is a place where Christian leaders and entrepreneurs are empowered to step into their greatness and fulfill their callings to the glory of God. If you're a professional, you're thinking, I want to start my own business. There's a business in me that's going to enlarge the kingdom of God and make a difference, and you're not sure how to get started? Go to www.errollawson.com now and download our free video on the 5 core abilities of highly effective Christian leaders. You're going to love today's episode. Hey, why don't you go back and check out our over 100 previous episodes and see which one meets your need for where you are right now in your leadership journey. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy today's episode, and God bless you. Hello and welcome again to the Rising Generation Leadership Podcast with me, Errol Lawson. And my very special guest today is Tony Lynch. Tony Lynch is an international business development trainer and coach with more than 30 years experience helping entrepreneurs, managers, leaders, and sales professionals create a competitive advantage in today's crowded marketplace. He's spoken in multiple countries around the world. He's a TEDx speaker, and as well as being featured by Inc. in 100 great leadership speakers for your next conference. Tony, thank you for joining us today, sir.
Errol, it's a pleasure and an honor to be on this call with you today, and also to be with your many listeners as well around the world. So thank you for inviting me. Very much appreciated.
We're excited to have you, Tony.
I'm excited as well.
Share a bit of your bio there. I know there's a lot more that you're doing right now. Fill in any gaps, first of all, please. And give us a glimpse of what you're up to in the world right now.
Yeah, well, the world is a great place. Certainly from my perspective, it can be a busy place. And I'm just in a very, very busy season at the moment. Just to bring you totally up to date, I've just got back from speaking in Dublin. So I was there just last week, and I was speaking at the Dublin Tech Summit, which was really exciting. And my subject there was how to create leadership excellence, 7 steps to transform your leadership, business, and team. And so, I was really excited to do that, and just getting ready for another venture as well. So certainly keeping busy. I certainly blog a lot, so which we can go into a bit later. But yes, I do a lot of writing as well as speaking and training as well.
Brilliant. And where did it all begin for you? We're keen to know, how did you know that this was what God had called you to do? Where did it all start?
Yeah. Well, I guess I've been through a transition in life, and I think most people do go through a transition. Sometimes they recognize it. Sometimes it's forced upon them. And sometimes they actually lead into it and really embrace it well. So for me, today I am a international leadership trainer, coach, and speaker. But that has all happened in about 4 years. So I've transitioned from running my own business, which was in estate agency, lettings, and real estate. But during that time, though, I used to train a lot of my staff. I had a good reputation for training people, and so I would get the opportunity when people needed to be trained. They would come and see me, and I would work with them and train them. So for me, 4 years ago, to answer your question, about 4 years ago, I guess I was turning a magical age. And I thought, okay, I felt challenged by God. For me, I'm a believer. And, I just felt challenged by God to do more in the next 10 years than I did and have done in the last 20 years. Now, I've been busy in the last 20 years. So for me, it's a big step up. It's certainly not something I'm coasting at. It's something that I'm going at a increasing momentum. And certainly
you stepped into that challenge and
Yeah, and challenges can come. Sometimes we can duck them, can't we? But sometimes we can embrace them. And when we embrace them well, it's not just the destiny that we get to, it's not just the end that we get to, but it's enjoying the journey every day as well. So making the most of every day, making sure that, hey, today counts, today matters. So making sure that we make the most of the journey so that we can become aware of of how we're growing and what we're growing into as well.
Awesome. So you made that transition then from being in a state agency to starting your own thing and wanting to make more difference. As you stepped out in this journey, was there like a turning point for you at some point as you're pursuing a new kind of a whole new lifestyle, I guess, in this leadership role? Was there like a turning point for you or an epiphany moment, or maybe you were heading in one direction and something happened and caused you to go into a different direction altogether? Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, I can tell you that very clearly. It was a very clear moment. It started with a stirring, and you know that there was something more. It really started with a stirring within me that there was something more coming. But then one evening, I remember so clearly, I was sitting on the settee with my wife, and I started to read a story, which I'll share briefly with you now. And the story was this. And so you've got to come into the story with me. So the story is this. Imagine one day. It is your day. It's a really important day. And people are coming to your event. As you look out on the crowd, there are a lot of people coming to your event. And you're really happy about it. But what you notice is that they're dressed well. They are looking to be there. They want to be at your event. As you look around the room, you see some nice flowers. Everything is decorated well. The music is playing well. Everything is looking really well for this occasion. And it is your occasion. People are coming in and they're talking about you. They are thinking about you. And there you are, right at the front. But you're in a box. It's your funeral. And as you look out, you ask yourself the question, I wonder what they're remembering about me. I wonder what they're saying about me, about the impact that I had. I wonder what one sentence would they be saying about me that could sum up my life. And for me, that really spoke to me about significance, about leaving a legacy, and making sure that you have a good impression upon people. Because we never know when we'll be called home. But what we do know is that today matters. And leaving that legacy, leaving that imprint, having a significance in people's lives is really key. So I hope that because what I do today, when that day finally comes, there will be some good things said about me. There will be some good sentences that, you know, Tony cared for people. Tony thought big of people. Tony had a good impression for people. Tony helped people grow into their potential. So for me, that was a very significant moment. And when that happened, I was also then reading some material from John Maxwell. Some of you will know John Maxwell. And I'd followed his material in a small way. I'd used some of his quotes in my training that I did. But then all of a sudden, because of that epiphany moment, because of that challenge that I had, I then came across an advert about joining the John Maxwell team. To be honest, I wasn't sure about it at the start. So I checked it out with a few friends. And I said, I don't know about it. It sounds good. It looks good. Do you think I should do it? And those who were close to me said, Tony, this would be like hand in glove for you. This would be good for you. And this would be something for you to move into. So I then became part of what's today called the John Maxwell Team. And many things have developed since then that I could share a bit later. But that was how that transition happened. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Are you seriously fired up about growing as a leader in business or church-based ministry? Are you feeling somewhat frustrated about not having realized your full potential in what you've been called to do? Could you do with someone to help you get some extra clarity or to be a sounding board for your plans and ideas? Great athletes have coaches, so do great leaders. The right leadership coach for you will result in an increased sense of clarity, direction, and purpose, dramatically increasing the results you achieve. If you're ready to step up, contact Errol to book a free, no-obligation introductory coaching session and see whether Errol is the right coach for you. Errol takes the lessons learned from his own leadership journey and from his extensive research to help leaders and entrepreneurs to step into their biggest challenges and rise to their next level. Email admin@errollawson.com right now to schedule your call.
And what's been your biggest challenge in leadership so far?
It's easy to answer that one. It's me. The hardest person you'll ever find to lead is always yourself. So, I always challenge myself because I have high expectations. I really do. And so I would say to make sure that I'm very intentional is very, very key. And what I've learned about that is that if my dream is just about me, it's too small a dream. If I've only got myself within that dream, it is too small. So today, Errol, what I do is I have now a good, strong inner circle around me. Those who can really help me to move on, to keep to what I'm saying, to make sure that I do everything that I say I'll do. So once a week, for instance, I am on what's called an accountability call because I think it's good to be accountable. So I'm on an accountability call. So they're accountable to me and I'm accountable to them.
Sure. It's great, man. And, as we've done these interviews over the last 18 months or so, we kind of discovered, and it's the topic of my second book, we discovered these 5 core abilities of highly effective Christian leaders and entrepreneurs. In this next section, I want to ask you about these 5 abilities and how you've kind of lived them out in your journey so far. So the first is the ability to create and communicate a compelling vision. How have you been able to create and communicate your vision for your business ministry? What's your process?
That's really good because actually, in the words of John Maxwell, everyone communicates but few connect. And when you talk about vision, in fact, I was talking about this only last week in Dublin, that, for many people, we can cast a picture, but it's really just a picture. It's our own personal picture, but we're not really communicating a vision in such a way. And vision casting, there's a skill to it, but there is it is a learnable skill. And when you do this well, what you find is that you don't actually have to ask people whether they're with you. They're saying, hey, where do I sign up? I want to be part of your team. They're in both feet, both hands. How have you done that?
How's that worked for you?
Well, certainly for me, what I've found is that I would share my heart of, I certainly believe that you always start with the end in mind. So for me, I cast a clear vision of where I want to get to in my own business. So I'll cast that very clearly. So for me, I think if you've got clarity in where you want to get to, then you can be very clear in how you communicate that to others. So for me, as a international business trainer and coach, what I do is one of the key things that I want to encourage and communicate to people is about keep thinking big. because I believe God wants us, first of all, to keep thinking big. And I do a teaching on that about keep thinking big. But within that, 3 sections with the word big, B-I-G, is beliefs, intentions, and growth. So I communicate that through beliefs, about being intentional, and about growing as well.
Right. So you've got that clarity. You're starting with the end in mind.
Yeah.
Clear clarity. Cool. And the second ability is the ability to create and manage wealth.
Mm-hmm.
How did you make your first pound in business?
Are you talking about my first pound in, as it were, real estate, or my first pound in as a trainer and coach and speaker?
Any way you like, really. Your first pound in business. Yeah. Your first bit of profit.
Yeah. I've been fortunate in business, and there's no shortcuts to hard working. You've got to work hard. And certainly in real estate, you've got to work hard. And one of the things that I found is that if you have a good attitude, if you're diligent, then things will go your way. So say, for instance, for me now as a trainer and a coach and a speaker, I get out to speak. People pay me nicely, and I get out to speak. So I suppose my first event, paid event, was probably about 3.5, 4 years ago, where I put on a big event in my town here, and I had a lot of people to come to watch an event. It was a John Maxwell event, and John was speaking, and I was doing some teaching as well. So I literally had to pound the streets, as it were. So, I often teach that your network will be a reflection, your net worth will be a reflection of your network. Yeah. So you've got to keep working at your network. So what I did was I kept working at my network, and all of a sudden that momentum came in. It's really good when you can fill a room, isn't it? When you have your own training session and you fill a room. But do you know what? There is always a joy where you have to start with that number one chair. Yeah. And you have to sell that very first ticket. And that's what I did about 3.5, 4 years ago. But ever since then, the momentum has built and built and built. So, there is always joy, isn't there, for the first one? Yeah. Your first ticket at your first event. Yeah. And that came through, I would say, particularly through networking, through my network of people that I know.
It's good. And that's so important. Number one, having that network and being able to develop and nurture that network.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Network, and then also the momentum factor.
Yeah, definitely. Because your network will determine your net worth. So some people say to me, "Hey, it's not happening with me. It's not happening in my bank account." Well, I say, okay, well, let's have a look at your network. What are you doing in your network? Because your network will determine your net worth.
Cool. And so the third ability is it's about productivity.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the ability to focus on the key things and to eliminate or delegate the rest. Now, do you have what's your number one activity or process or app even that you have for increasing your productivity?
I have for years and years and years, for as long as I can remember, I will write out my action list. It's like a daily sheet. Okay. So the night before, I will often have written out what I will be doing the next day. Okay. Certainly on a Sunday night, I will have written out what I'm doing in the coming week. Okay. But what I've done, actually, this is a really interesting question, is obviously we all grow, don't we? And we see things as we grow in different ways. So actually what I've done now is, rather than what I used to do is write out, a number of things that I would need to do during the week, is I've actually now began to actually theme them together. And when I theme them together, because there may be 3 or 4 things that actually are all interrelated, but rather than one being 1 and 6 and 10 and 12, you rank them together as themes. Now, because I work on an international basis, some of my work is dependent on different time zones. So some of my themes are later in the afternoon in the UK time is when I will be working with certain clients out in America. Yeah. And so you have themes, and you also have different time zones, certainly for me, for different works that I have to do. Right. But hey, I can assure you this: I will not wake up on a Monday morning wondering what I'm going to be doing. No way. I always plan ahead to stay ahead.
That's great. So the fourth ability is it's about teams, about people. It's about getting the best out of the people you lead.
Yep.
Whether they like you or not, really. So when it comes to you building a team or for a new business or for a new project, what process works best for you? Maybe what have you tried before that hasn't worked as well when building a team?
Probably what hasn't worked, and this is often what, I found this in my own life, and I find this as I coach and train people, is the thought that a leader knows how everybody thinks. A leader of a team presumes how everybody thinks. I know how that person thinks on my team, but actually we don't know how they think. So first of all, have time for people, connect with people, understand people. And then secondly, the way we look at people is really important, because do we look at somebody and say, I don't think they've got it, I don't think there's much potential in them, or do we believe there's a lot of potential in them? And actually, it's my role as a leader to identify talent, to cultivate that talent, and to cause that talent to have a big impact upon the team that they're part of. Because I know this, Errol, that when you develop the talents around you, you have a more engaging team. Yeah. And when you have a more engaging team, you have a team that works harder, and you see more productivity, and you see increasing profitability. So for me, it's not presuming that everybody thinks the way I do, because they don't. And secondly, it's my role as a leader to develop the talents around me.
It's great. And then the fifth ability is about self-confidence and unwavering determination. What is key, or what has been key to building your confidence and you not getting stuck in the trap of the imposter syndrome?
As a Christian, I believe and I know that God has called me. That is my foundation. There's a piece in the Bible that says that actually Jesus has called you to bear fruit, and I believe, therefore, I expect to bear fruit in my life, and that gives me the confidence that I need. That no, I'm no imposter, but actually I'm chosen for this moment, and what I do will bear fruit. Now, God has called me, but also I have to work hard. And I have to deliver my best. And so for me, that confidence comes, first of all, from knowing God, but also in preparing well for events, making sure that you deliver your best. And hey, always looking. I always love to. In fact, no doubt you've been to a magic show before, haven't you, Errol? And you've seen how the magicians literally pull out sometimes that white rabbit out of that big hat. Yeah, you've seen that before. Yeah. As a coach, yeah, definitely, yeah. And as a coach, as a trainer, I love to pull something out of the hat that they weren't expecting. So I want to deliver something beyond that which they were expecting. Hey, if I only deliver on expectations, I'm average. But if I can pull something out of that hat that they weren't expecting, then all of a sudden that begins to put you into a different league.
It's good. It's good, man. Awesome, Tony. Awesome. Great value, man. So our quick fire round now. Here we go. What does the first 90 minutes of your day look like?
Yeah. I couldn't say that every day is the same because it's not. But what I have found is that the first 90 minutes often is my most productive time when it comes to writing, when it comes to thinking. A lot of people employ me to be like a thought leader for them because I know I'm a big thinker. But I spend a lot of time thinking. And, thinking is a skill. And thinking can be the most difficult thing to do, and it can be the most easiest thing to do. But thinking can be developed. Think about your thinking. So what I do in the morning is I will write, and I will think, and I will prepare. So it could be that I write a blog. It could be that I write a lesson. It could be that I'm writing about something that is coming up. It could be that I'm thinking of different quotes. And so, if you go to my website, www.keepthinkingbig.com, you'll see a number of blogs on there. And I could say to you, if I said to you, probably at least 75% of those were probably written before 9 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah?
So writing time, thinking time.
Yeah, definitely.
What are the key habits that contribute towards your success?
Key habits, I would say staying focused, trying not to be all things to all people, having a clarity of what is my lane. For me, as I said, I'm a trainer, speaking coach, but actually I only focus on about 3 lanes. I'm very clear on that. It's leadership and management, sales and marketing, and customer care excellence. So when you know your lanes, it's a lot easier to stay focused.
Good.
Yeah, but you can become weak when you begin to try and please everyone, be in every lane, but actually you become a master of none. If somebody wants to listen for you to speak and teach, they want you in as somebody who's a master on a certain subject. They don't want you just as an average person. They can get that by going on the internet. But what they're calling you in for is for your personal insights and your personal wisdom.
Brilliant. And what's your biggest weakness as a leader?
I would say never turning off. My wife says go and get a hobby.
And what's your biggest strength?
I would say definitely developing leaders. I've developed so many leaders over the years.
Awesome.
In different various ways.
And who have been your top 3 most significant mentors up to now?
I'd say my wife, obviously, my pastor, who's not around anymore, and at the moment, John Maxwell, definitely.
Digging a bit deeper into those 3 relationships, what's the best piece of advice you've gotten from each of those 3 individuals?
Yep, I can tell you this very clearly because I just went. I did a blog for the John Maxwell Team, and actually it got onto John Maxwell's own Facebook page, so you can read about it there. And the title was "Give, Give, and Give Again." And the best piece of advice was this: I was about to get married, and I remember my pastor talking to me, obviously just before I was getting married, and he said to me, "Tony, most people think in marriage that marriage is about give and take. It's not about give and take, Tony. It's about give, and give again." And that has stayed with me, about give, and give again. And you can think that into every situation of life, about being a giving person. It's not give and take. It's give, and give again. So have an abundant mindset, an abundant heart.
Great. And you featured all 3 people in there, so from John to your pastor and your wife.
Yes.
Awesome. So we're almost done now. What book or resource would you recommend for a leader or entrepreneur who's listening right now?
Do you know what? That is one of the most difficult questions to answer, because certainly for me, because for me, leaders are readers. I read so many books every year. There's probably a handful that I keep coming back to that travel with me literally around the world when I go on a plane. Let me just mention two of them for you. The first one is actually for Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Brilliant book. And the other one that has had a huge effect on me is John Maxwell, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And both of those books, I could not tell you, Errol, how many times I have read them. I've underscored different things as I read them again, thinking, do you know what? I never saw that last time I read that, but now I do. Why? Because your level of awareness increases each time you read something.
Good. And what's the one thing you're most fired up about right now?
Most fired up about that right now? I would say I've got a passion for developing what I call engaged, talented teams. Let me tell you why. I'm doing a lot of work at the moment, and I was talking about this in Dublin last week, that a lot of people want to build their businesses. They want to build a sustainable business. But what they often find difficult to do is to really develop their teams. And some would say to me, I've got a talented team. And I don't know if you're into football. I'm not into football too much, so this is a risky analogy I'm sharing. But you'll see people on the benches, yeah? But hey, if they're always on the benches, they're probably going to get frustrated. So what's the point, I often say these days, in having a talented team? There's no point in having a talented team unless you have an engaged, talented team. And if you don't engage that talent, ultimately that leads to frustration. And we know this as a fact, that often people don't leave companies, they leave people. And if you don't develop that talent, somebody else will. So for me, I'm very passionate about helping people to have engaged, talented teams, because then everybody rises together.
Great. And Tony, how do we find out about you? If someone's listening right now, they want to get in touch with you or just check out your websites and stuff, on social media? Yeah,
I'm all over the place. But I guess the first place to go to is my own website, www.keepthinkingbig.com. Because that's what we've got to do, isn't it, in our life, keepthinkingbig.com. So go to keepthinkingbig.com. You can register there for my updates. And also I'm on LinkedIn and obviously Twitter and Facebook, but certainly go to my website, because there you'll find a host of material actually that's free, that you can download and that you can listen to. You can actually listen to my TEDx talk there as well, that I did, being a TEDx speaker. So you can go and listen to that. And that particular theme that I spoke about then was about transformation. So anyone looking particularly about transformation, they'll find that really, really helpful. So certainly go to my website, keepthinkingbig.com. Be great to engage with you there, and obviously on LinkedIn as well.
Thank you, Tony, so much, man. Guys, go and check out keepthinkingbig.com. Go and get connected, be inspired. You spent time with Tony Lynch today and Errol Lawson. Hope you've been lifted and encouraged. Go and check out keepthinkingbig.com right now. Tony, thank you for your time today.
Thank you. A real honor to be here. Thank you.
Man. Thank you. Thank you again for joining us today on the Rising Generation Leadership Podcast. I pray you've been inspired, you've been lifted, you've been encouraged to take your personal leadership to the next level. We really encourage you guys to just take action, make it happen, do something, start somewhere, go out and change the world in some way, big or small. Guys, if you've enjoyed the podcast today, please share with your friends, share with your loved ones, your colleagues, someone out there you think might benefit from hearing this great content. And if you want some more questions answering, you got a question, email me, Errol@errollawson.com, or if you want a free 30 to 45 minute coaching session with myself around the leadership challenge or issue you're working on in your business, your church, or in your organization, please feel free to email me right away or get you booked in. It's Errol@errollawson.com. Thank you again for listening. Go to our iTunes page, check it out, check out the previous episodes, give us a nice review, that would be awesome. Really appreciate if you could do that for us. We really appreciate you just for being here and listening. Thank you so much. God bless you, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Rising Generation.